What happens when you take something as ancient and sacred as a holy book and apply cold, hard math to it? Well, today we're diving into this really fascinating theory that says the Quran isn't just a book of faith. The claim is that it's built on a hidden, super intricate numerical structure. So the central question here is pretty bold, right? Could a book that's over 1,400 years old actually have a hidden mathematical code inside it? Think of it like a divine watermark woven right into the fabric of the text, just waiting for someone to find it. And for the people who've really dug into this, the answer is a huge yes. They see this amazing harmony in the text, a place where the numbers aren't just random. No, they believe it's all part of this deliberate design pointing to a much deeper spiritual kind of wisdom. So what's the key that supposedly unlocks this whole thing? The one master number at the heart of this mystery? Well, it's the number 19. Okay, so the entire foundation for this theory starts with one single phrase. It's called the Basmala. This is the opening line of the Quran, and you'll find it repeated at the start of almost every single chapter. It's probably one of the most famous phrases in the entire Islamic world. And here it is. You can see it in its original Arabic. Now, the people who came up with this theory, they didn't just look at what the words mean. They looked at how the phrase is physically put together. And what they did was, well, they just decided to count the letters. And guess what that number is? Yep, it's 19. That whole phrase has exactly 19 Arabic letters. Now, according to the theory, this is no accident. This is the first key, the one that starts to unlock this huge mathematical puzzle. So, starting with just those 19 letters, the claim is that the number 19 starts popping up everywhere, like it's woven into the very structure of the Quran. Let's see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. All right, first, let's zoom out and look at the whole book. The Quran is split into chapters, which are called surahs, and in total there are 114 of them. So what's the big deal about 114? Well, what if I told you that number is a perfect multiple of 19? It is. It's exactly 6 times 19. For the people behind this theory, this is like Exhibit A, the first huge piece of evidence linking the structure of the entire book back to that one number. And it doesn't stop there. The pattern just seems to keep expanding. It's not just about the total number of chapters. The theory's proponents will point out that the very first revelation is said to have, you guessed it, 19 verses. Then they'll zoom in on specific chapters, like Surah Taha, which they claim has 171 letters. And yep, that's exactly 9 times 19. But, the connections aren't always just simple multiplication. The theory gets way more complex. It's almost like a divine architectural blueprint, where the number 19 is the core principle behind the whole design. Think about it like this. Imagine a master architect designing a huge, magnificent building. But instead of using feet or meters for their measurements, they use one specific prime number as the basic unit for everything: the number of columns, the size of the windows, the patterns in the floor. That's the claim here, that the Quran is built with that exact same kind of mathematical purpose. Okay, so this is where it starts to get a little more complicated. Proponents look at the very first chapter, which has 7 verses, and they have this specific formula for it. First, you take that 7 and multiply it by 2, which gets you to 14. Then you add 5, and that 5 is a number they specifically connect back to certain letters in that opening Basmala phrase. And what do you get? Yep, it brings you right back to 19. And the connections keep going using other kinds of math too. For instance, a chapter that has 28 verses is explained as 19 plus 9. Then there's another calculation that points to the number 6,859, which just so happens to be 19 cubed. So the argument is that these aren't just random little quirks. They're all pieces of evidence for a consistent system working underneath it all. Okay, so this brings us to the really big question, right? Let's just say for a minute that these patterns are intentional. What's the point? What would it even mean for a code like this to exist inside a holy book? Well, from the perspective of those who believe in this, these patterns are pretty profound. They argue it's proof of a kind of mathematical precision that would have been totally impossible for any human author back in the 7th century. For them, it's literally a divine signature, a watermark that proves the Quran's divine origin. And they see it as a miracle that's perfectly suited for our modern scientific age. So what do we do with all this? Is it a deliberate divine pattern? Or is it a series of really amazing coincidences that people found because they were looking so hard for them? Or is it something else? Whatever you land on, this whole enigma of the number 19 really challenges us to take a closer look at where faith and reason meet.